Play of the day coming up. We'll get to phone calls as well. As I mentioned, there's a big run on defensive tackles now. Got to stop the run. A guy named Milton Williams, he was in the Super Bowl, had a good Super Bowl. I think he played 7 games. He signed a $100 million deal with the Patriots. I think he had a couple of sacks. That was it. But he didn't even start. And 25 years of age, he's going to make $100 million. Big run on defensive tackles there. Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk Live co-host, and you can see him on Football Night in America. All right, give me the head scratcher there of all the moves, all the different signings.
Well, okay. I mean, I don't know if I got head scratchers. I got one that surprised me. I think the one that surprises me maybe more than any is I did not think I would be sitting here Tuesday after the first day of free agency uttering the words J.C. Horn, highest paid DB in NFL history, right? That one was a little surprising to me. Good player. I get that. Been injured a lot during his career. I know they need good defensive players there in Carolina. That was an issue, right? But they're paying him like he's Pat Surtain or Sauce Gardner, and he's certainly not that. And hasn't been able to stay on the field that way. That, to me, was a surprising one. Again, I'm never going to get mad at a team for signing a guy they like, they drafted, they see potential in, but I didn't think, again, it was going to be the highest paid DB in the history of football. That was surprising.
And a lot of attention goes to the quarterbacks, and rightfully so, but this feels like this is the stock up on offensive and defensive linemen, where it's not going to get headlines, but it's going to win you games. It's going to get you into the playoffs. It's going to help somebody win a Super Bowl.
That's right.
Yeah, but is there a move that was non-skill level that you would go, wow, that's a big upgrade, or that'll be a big difference for this team?
Well, there's 2 teams that jump out, and they have a number of moves, right? And the one you were just making fun of a little bit, right, with Milton Williams. But again, Dan, it's like the first thing I got to say is this is how good the Eagles are. They're an all-star team. It's as good of a team as we've seen in a long, long time. Right? They're so good they stashed a guy they were paying $17 million a year and was the top free agent pass rusher in last year's draft. And they said, just sit on the bench. We're good enough. We could just we'll keep you there. So that I knew and thought all along and said this yesterday that Milton Williams, between the Cardinals and Jonathan Gannon, who was in Philadelphia, of course Carolina got involved, that was a big deal. But further along with what they did there in New England, not only the Milton Williams trade, but to get get Carlton Davis, who is still a damn good corner, and now you got opposite of him Christian Gonzalez, so you got 2 guys on the outside that can shut people down, and Harold Landry, who Vrabel had history with in Tennessee, is still a really, really good football player. Right, so I look at some of those moves and even the Morgan Moses move at offensive tackle as going, wow, like you're saying, in the trenches, quality signings there. The Patriots certainly improved their team in a big way yesterday. Them and the Bears, I thought, really were the ones that jumped out to me more than others, Dan.
If you're Aaron Rodgers and you have your choice of the Giants or the Steelers.
Yeah, it's Steelers. It is. It's the Steelers are at least Mike Tomlin's on more solid ground, I believe, than Brian Daboll or Joe Shane, right? So there's that aspect. You certainly can look at the Steelers and go, wait, this is a team that's been in the playoffs. They get to the playoffs. Yeah, they're one and done, right? But they're doing some things a little differently there. They're making some drastic moves. What? They traded for DK Metcalf and paid him all this money? They usually don't do that type of stuff. We know that their defense, they got some disruptors and some playmakers there. I think that one there, if it's apples to apples, there's no doubt the Pittsburgh Steelers would be the team for Aaron Rodgers.
That means Russell Wilson to the Giants?
I don't know what it means for the Giants. That doesn't excite me very much. See, the other thing that I think we're seeing going on right here, good players in free agency, all the movement, the free agent players. There wasn't a big-time market this year, right? Or at least high-end players. So we saw a lot of guys get re-signed at the last second, trades like DK Metcalf and some other ones out there. And then the other thing that's jumped out to me this weekend is I think the NFL is telling you they don't like the quarterback draft, right? anybody not named Cam Ward, I think everybody's a little bit like, I like him, but I don't know if I love him, right? That's the feeling I'm getting, at least by the signals out there. So, yeah, the Giants, the options are limited. I don't know what they do there, but it seems like we're getting in a spot here where there'll be more and more pressure on them to take a quarterback at number 3.
You just think Cam Ward is the only guy who grades out to maybe be a starter right away?
Cam Ward is, I haven't come out with my rankings yet, but I've said this on he's definitely the number 1 quarterback. That's not debatable, right? This will be a year where I have a hard time thinking all 32 teams will be in consensus that is the number 1 guy. Cam Ward is worthy of being the number 1 pick. Cam Ward, to me, would be in the conversation with Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels as the top quarterbacks in last year's draft. I think he's worthy of that. I had Bo Nix number 3. I think if I was going to be fair, I'd probably would have Cam Ward in front of him if it was back into those times, even though I love Bo Nix, don't get me wrong. So, yeah, I look at it that way. And then where I look at like Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart, I feel like they would have been towards the bottom of last year's list. But still, I look at Shedeur Sanders and still go starting caliber stuff, first rounder. I don't love all the crap he's getting, in places, certainly not. And there's a lot to like about his film.
The Jets getting Justin Fields.
Yeah.
Hold your excitement. I like the move. I like the move,
right?
Because he at least is going to go out. If he stays healthy, he at least can make some plays. He could be interesting there. I think your expectation level is greatly reduced because it's Justin Fields. And
that's right.
And maybe you can get 8 or 9 wins. Like maybe, best case scenario, maybe. Rodgers, we thought they could go to the Super Bowl.
I hear you, and I think one on top of that, you get Justin Fields that type of contract. What he got, that doesn't take you out of the market for if Shedeur Sanders is there for you to pick, right? And you want to take it. We're not going to be like Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix, and be like, what? Why did they pay him $150 million and now they're drafting the number 7 quarterback? That makes no sense. So it does give them some wiggle room there. And then I think on top of what you're saying, there is potential. It's gotten better throwing the football. There still needs to be more there. I mean, it's not, what you want as far as throwing the football out of your starter in the NFL, but it's good. And then you got to get in the playmaking. And then I also think with like what you're saying, Aaron Glenn, he's going, wait, I want a team here. I'm about a team. I just came from Detroit. I want to run. I want to play physical football. I got an awesome defense here that I'm going to coach up and make them even more awesome. Right? And he's going to play team style of football. And then, yes, this gives them wiggle room, buys them time to figure out what they want to do for the quarterback of the future, or Justin Fields ups his game and shows us he's the quarterback of the future. So from all that, it makes sense because I don't think they want to be held hostage by Aaron Rodgers and what he might have wanted to run the offense and how he wanted things to look. And I get it, what the Jets are doing.
Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk Live co-host, also Unbuttoned, the Chris Sims podcast, and a contributor to Football Night in America. Would you rather have Sam Darnold or Geno Smith?
I would take Geno. All right, I would take Geno. Yeah, I'm a Geno fan. I like Sam Darnold now, and it's close, right? It's close, but I would take Geno. But also within that, okay, if you told me, wait, you can get Sam Darnold for a little less money and you can get a 3rd-round pick, I might go, oh, well, I don't know. Maybe I will tip the scales towards Sam Darnold then a little bit. And I think that's what Seattle looked at it like. Let alone, I think Seattle's a little like, hey, we know Geno was in the quarterback of the future. We know that. And we're not necessarily Sam Darnold is either, but we like him. And I think the biggest thing here, too, Dan, is Clint Kubiak. He had a full year. Right, with Sam Darnold when he was in San Francisco. So he knows what he's all about. He's been there. He's coached him. Sam Darnold's going to be able to know his offense quite quickly there. So that makes sense. And Mike McDonald, I think what he's doing is he's kind of going, wait, the Pete Carroll era is over. I'm getting my own players, my own culture here. And I'm not, we're going to get an offensive line. We're going to be about defense. We're going to be about like what I was at in Baltimore or Michigan before that, where we're going to play team football, and it's not going to just be about the quarterback. And I think they're, in the midst of reorganizing their organization here.
It's kind of interesting / maybe sad to look at what happened to the Niners. Like what could have been
I know.
We talk about windows of opportunity. You're good friends with the head coach of the Niners, that they're saying goodbye to good players. Still have some headliners there. But what's the future, the immediate future of the Niners?
I'm glad to see they're doing it, right? You gotta take a step back or rip the Band-Aid off every now and then and start new. Or take a step back to get 2 or 3 steps forward. And I think that's where they are. They couldn't go on with the current rate of which they were doing, right? I've had a lot of fun with this on my pod and with Florio on PFT. I mean, just think about it. I mean, their roster, the amount of money they have spent, the people they have on there, the high-end guys, how can that be sustainable? They have a top 5 paid receiver in football, and they had Deebo Samuel, which was, up there. They have a top 3 paid tight end in football. They have the number 2 paid running back in football. They have the top paid left tackle in football. They have to pay Brock Purdy. They have Fred Warner, who's a top 3 linebacker. Nick Bosa, top 3 defensive player in general. Lemon Noor, their nickelback, top paid nickelback in football. So eventually the rooster comes home to roost or something like that along those lines. You know what I'm trying to say. And the Pied Piper is here. So they got to just clean the checkbook here and start new. And yeah, that team we saw to go to 4 NFC championships and 2 Super Bowls, it's over. They're starting a new era there.
How about a round of applause for Chris Sims for 3 cliches in about 10 seconds there?
It's a record.
Yeah.
That's what they call those Simsisms. I know you don't watch my
Simsisms.
show all that much, but I seem to combine and confuse a lot of sayings, right? Like if you read between the tea leaves, that's a pretty good one on my podcast or my show a lot of the time, right? I'm famous for that.
Devontae Adams to the Rams, but let me talk about Cooper Kupp's market because it looks like they're going to release him.
Yeah.
Is he a third receiver for somebody now?
I think that's what it is, right? I don't like saying that. I like Cooper Kupp. He's still got gas in the tank, but I mean, he's the number 2 receiver with the Rams, and they don't want him, and they don't have many receivers. So I think doesn't that tell you something?
Well, they don't want him at that price.
Well, exactly right, but yet they brought somebody else in for the same price to take his spot, right? Or a little bit more.
Well, who would you rather have, Devontae Adams or Cooper Kupp?
Yeah, Devontae Adams.
Okay.
I would.
Okay.
Cooper Kupp, I think, be a little bit between the injuries, right? Getting up there in age, not separating quite the same way. I think the perfect world for him is to be, a 2 really /3 where he could go and be the slot guy, right? He doesn't have to get outside and beat the top corners in football and man-to-man, read coverages, run great routes, tough over the middle. That's where it makes sense for Cooper Kupp. But no, certainly I would take Devontae Adams over him right now.
And Cooper Kupp will end up with 80 catches with the Chiefs next season.
Well, it could be. Exactly right. Exactly right. He'll find a spot where a team values that slot receiver who is smart and runs option routes the right way. And I wouldn't be shocked to see him have a little second wind of his career like we saw Adam Thielen when he went from Minnesota to Carolina, who still looks pretty damn good.
Tom Brady, you think, pulled the trigger on the Geno Smith deal?
I think he gives them the final vote of confidence. Hey, Pete Carroll, right? He's got history with Geno Smith, so he likes that. But I think where and again, I kind of tweeted this out on Friday night or whatever night it went down, that I think this was a look of Tom Brady going, I don't know if we want other quarterbacks not named Cam Ward at number 6. Let's just go with a guy that we know can play, is a little bit better than people realize, and you trust him, Pete, and he can start and jumpstart your culture in the locker room and convey your messages to those guys that way. I certainly think Tom Brady had a say in that, no question.
Yeah, and if I look at this from 10,000 feet, it feels like Brady says, I need somebody that I can at least show up every Sunday and trust that he'll go out.
That's right.
And he'll play quality football. He also has Brock Bowers. If they go after Ashton Genty and you got Max Crosby, okay, now you have some entertainment here. Now you at least can be competitive in your own division with those other quarterbacks. And if you got Shedeur Sanders, I don't think he was going to start right away. You're not going to get Cam Ward, so you get somebody. They don't. I thought maybe they get Sam Darnold, but that'll tell you what Tom thought of the situation. That give me the guy that I know is proven a little bit more over time than what we've seen with Sam.
That's right. Let alone the head coach knows him, right?
Yeah.
So that's good. That's a good thing. The head coach, I doubt, wants a rookie quarterback, right? Pete Carroll knows he's not there for 7 years. He's probably going, damn, I might got 2, 3, 4 at the most. So I need somebody that can hit the ground running, doing all that. And then I think, yes, Brady's seeing it like you're saying or like I'm saying. He's going, damn, this guy, hey, he'll push the ball down the field. Damn, he moves better than people realize. Yeah, he's got a little experience. He sees the field. And damn, his arm's powerful. He can be sexy and exciting that way. And why we do that and all the things you mentioned, it buys Brady time and the team time to figure out what they want to do big picture, long term for the quarterback, because eventually Brady's going to figure it out. As long as they're in a position to where they can get a quarterback that makes sense. I mean, come on. Brady knows how to evaluate the position. He knows throwers when he sees them. He knows good decision makers. And I have no question he'll get that right eventually.
Have you hung out with Brady socially?
Not really hung out. No, not really.
When you were in New England.
Yeah. I was around a lot and around him, and I had to hand him stuff all the time, and I was always handing him papers. And at the time, I was always like, "Hey, Tom, we got to get we're wasting half of the Brazilian and Giselle's home country rainforest with all this stuff we're printing out every day. Let's save the world and go to the tablets or the iPad." And I'm telling you,
what was your job?
The next year it happened.
What was your job in New England?
Do whatever they say, boy. That's what I was.
Wow.
I mean, I was quality control. I had some things involved in scouting, and whatever they yelled at me to do next. That was my job.
But how did it feel, though, when Tom says, hey, did you hear Tom's getting all the guys together to go out and have beers? And then you weren't that far removed.
Yeah, then I wasn't invited,
Yes.
right? Yeah. Well, one, he was like, well, he's not allowed out of his shackles, so they're not letting him out of his dungeon up there. But no, of course, that was a tough transition period in general. I'm sitting there just getting done playing football going, damn, I'm better than some of these guys in the league. I can't believe this, right? And, yeah, I'd see him and some of the other guys on the team be like, yeah, I wish I could hang out with them. I wish I could go hang with Brady right now. I really love Tom Brady as a guy. I know I've been on him about Deflategate. There's no doubt about that, and I won't back down from that. But everything else about Tom Brady, I thoroughly admire. I admired my time with him, his work ethic. And
wait, what bothers you about Deflate? That he did it and didn't admit to it?
Yeah, okay. Exactly.
But you know what? It's a stupid rule.
Well, it's not a stupid rule. I'll disagree with you there.
Yes,
if it was a stupid rule, then let the kids, then let Mahomes throw a college football and see what you think about that when he throws it 90 yards from his feet.
No, in NFL,
from his knees.
you get to handle, you get the ball that you want, and then I get the ball that I want.
I know, but because if you let me take air out of the football, my arm will go up exponentially, and I'll be able to control it and doing things that I wouldn't be able to do if the ball was inflated properly.
That's the big deal. We're giving you an advantage. I get an advantage. I get the ball that I want. We do this with kickers. Why not with quarterbacks? It's silly.
Well, at some point, there has to be a baseline for everybody has to do the same thing. So in basketball, do we want to – some of the guys aren't shooting as good. Should we tell them to lower the basket? Or some of the guys don't run as fast. Should we tell some of the faster guys to slow down in the NFL?
No, each offense gets their own football. We're not talking about lowering a rim.
Well, that's not – no, I want something that's it's a sport of rules and what we do when we play with a ball that's the same size. What sport does that go on?
You sound like your old man.
Different baseballs. Hey, use a metal baseball bat this time up. Who cares? I mean, we'll let you use metal bats today, too. Let us use metal bats.
It's only two people who are affected by this, the quarterbacks. That's all, a couple of PSIs.
No, the quarterbacks, it does. And yes, it would affect the ability to throw it through weather. It's going to help. It's going to help people who catch the ball. It's going to help the running backs and everybody else that has to grab the ball not fumble the ball as much because it's not properly inflated. So now you can squeeze it to death. Yes, 100%.
What happened to you? You're like your old man.
I'm just the realest dude you've ever met. I'm just sorry. That's just the way it is.
Good to talk to you.
But no, other than that, Brady's awesome. And what Brady did show us is that 2 weeks later in Super Bowl 49, he could throw lasers all over the field. And that's why I was mad at that. Because I was like, you don't need that. You're the man. That's all. That was my point.
You know Aaron Rodgers overinflated footballs?
Hey, listen, if you want to make it harder on yourself, go ahead. I mean,
No, he
that
told me
like,
that he overinflated.
I know.
Nobody got upset about that.
Because that everybody would go, that's a disadvantage. Nobody in football would go, put a bigger object in my hand to make it.
It had to be an advantage for him to overinflate it.
I mean, he must have just liked how it felt in his hand, right? That would be the big thing. But I don't think you're going to find a common consensus of quarterbacks through the history of time that are going to go, make the ball bigger and heavier, and I'll throw it better.
Oh my
Aaron
God.
Rodgers is a freak of nature, right? He's got gigantic hands, and he's arguably the greatest arm ever. And why'd you got to do this to me? Why'd you got to bring me down this lane with Brady and all this? Now I got to hear this crap again. Brady's the man. Get off his back. Get off my back.
Get off my lawn. That's what you should be saying. Thank you, Chris.
All right, guys. See ya.
Chris Sims, Pro Football Talk Live co-host, Football Night in America.